Today I'm going to expose the Prado 250's weaknesses and strengths.
Let's flick it out there.
Out on the sand dunes and the beach. Not an ideal angle to be driving on.
Coming up, 250 Prado's first impressions off-road. 8-speed auto, is it any good? City car onto sand? Weak points? Strong points? Former 150 Prado's faults? Is it really good off-road?
Getting bogged, self-recovery.
Get in there.
And do I still like it?
Yeah, I don't know.
How to get it in real 4x4 mode.
The 250 Prado, particularly on sand. Before you even attempt any of that, put your vehicle into four-wheel drive center diff lock. Turn off traction control. 3, 4. Lower your tires to somewhere between 20 to 12 PSI. Get into it. Have some early fun here. See how high we can get. It feels lighter than what I expected, and it does appear to be quite big, but it doesn't feel very big. It feels kind of nimble. If you were put in this seat, or if I was put in this seat and I didn't know what car I was in, and it was the future, I'd be guessing this would be like the new FJ. Oh, all right, we found the bump stop then. Woo. That was a bit of a hard hit. I'm glad I still got the front of the car. Didn't it get pretty close? Oh man, I got a bit carried away, eh?
Let's see what the 8-speed gearing is like in low range.
So I'm just going to see how many gears I can get. Oh, holy moly. Okay, it's stopped in 6. And that's kind of what I suspected. Try that again. We are in first gear now. Let's go. Gets up in speed really fast. Wow, it's like a race car. Redlining, 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 and going, going, going. So it really does want to go. But 6th gear is where it stops. It won't go any higher. That's exactly what I suspected, because every single Toyota that I've driven on the sand, apart from maybe the 300 series, will only go 1-to-1 ratio off-road in low range. It's got the same power as all the other 2.8s, but that gearbox that's in there, it's got 6 gears within the 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that the 6th gear in this variant is 1-to-1. It's the same as the 4th gear in the 6-speed. No overdrive in low range, and that is no surprise.
Given we just compared the 250 to the older 150 Prado, let's get Chris's reactions.
Is a former Prado owner. We'll see what he thinks of this car when he comes back.
Yeah. So a fair bit of FOMO going on at the moment. Oh, listen to it. It's just taken off. Wow, what a jet. This thing's insane compared to my old one. I mean, I had a lot of weight in my 150, but this feels light and really nimble.
Oh, steady on, mate.
Oh, it's got so much power, eh?
I know. You to do that again. I would like you to get another one of these. Behind the hill a bit.
Yeah, I can do that. Even the windows go up faster than the 150. I've got to give this a little bit of sand flick. Let's flick it out there. Oh, yeah. Ronny's loving that.
He's been hitting this dune more times than I have.
This is too much fun, eh?
I think he's loving it compared to his old 150.
I probably took it a bit fast the first time, not knowing the power, because I was all of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm about to launch this thing. It felt good though, like it felt in control. It was at no point did I feel like, oh, this is getting a bit loose, the back end or anything. It's a nimble little car. Oh yeah, that's cool.
But I think I need you back on the other side of the camera. I was a bit nervous.
No, fair enough.
It's a good point, but it's also a bad point. This vehicle, it's not power on tap, it's power bursting out of the pipes. Sports mode, normal mode, and eco mode on the beach in high range. As you'd expect, more responsive. It kind of feels like low range responsiveness with sports mode on. Go to eco mode. Yeah, the pedal, grandpa driving. You've really got to move the pedal to get anywhere with it. Normal mode, kind of know how that feels already. Normal mode is what I use for most of the day in high range, but I was kind of half and half between high range and low range. But in high range, which driving mode is the most fun? Sports mode! Very aggressive. This does not need a tune. This does not need a throttle manipulator either. When you're in low range, it's just like rev limiter, rev limiter, rev limiter, redlining, and you're going. You are seriously going. Now, the bad point about that is I don't really like how it's redlining so much. It's almost like it needs to be in eco mode. It goes too far.
Yeah, I know.
It's cool, but it's also a little bit worrying, and it's also very easy to bog on a crest. The power is right there. It just comes out of the wheels. You might be wondering why not just put it into eco mode. It makes sense, right? Eco mode should sort out low range. Sport, normal, and eco. That doesn't work in low range, just so you know. I found that out the hard way. I'm kind of suspecting that it's in sports mode per se when it's in low range. But the good thing is when you're climbing a dune, you can get up in gears much easier than any other vehicle. Let's get a bit loose. Oi. Well, the 250 definitely has a worse ramp over angle than the 150. There's a bigger distance between the wheels now than there were on the previous Prados because it's got the same wheelbase as the 80 series, 100 series, 105, 200, 300. They all share that same wheelbase. Now in the 250. But what it does have, better approach angle and a much better departure angle than before. Try not to embarrass myself again and get stuck.
We did a fair share of dune descents, from average steepness
Oh, wow. Oh, all my gear again.
to extreme steepness. First gear low range is always the choice for these kind of activities, and it held it quite well. The only drawback was the brakes. They seemed very touchy and sometimes encouraged the back end to step out of line. Apart from that, we already know it has a great approach and departure angle.
And I do feel more confident when I'm hitting the face of these dunes. I'm not really worried about the back at all.
Driving up dunes, it's super fun, and it's surprisingly capable even on soft sand.
Like that. Like that. It's like driving a race car. You can hear it, it's just something not quite right about that, but that's honestly how it feels. So high range, it's pretty good for the dunes actually. It's just where it gets really soft and you need control of speed. You probably wouldn't want to be in high range.
But I might have gotten a bit too cocky.
I feel like I've pushed this vehicle as much as all the other vehicles, but I'm going to do something a little bit beyond that. No! Believe it or not, I had every intention to bog the vehicle, but not like this. The plan was to bog it on the beach and then see how it could self-recover with crawl control, or if it needed some help. In this situation though, being bogged in the worst possible manner on top of a Razorback, 4 times before I've had this happen to me. And none of those times was I able to self-recover, either winched or snatched out. So which of these 3 tools is going to get me out? Is it digging by hand, or the Max Tracks, or crawl control? Which one do you think gets me out? Have a guess now. Let's get to work. And the sand here is hectic. It's wind. Put 1 Max Tracks on this side and 1 on this side as well. None on the front though.
There is no weight on the front wheels, so I've kept the other 2 in reserve.
Oh my God, there's so much sand in this car. Try with a rear locker, see what happens. Oh damn, just slid it under. I'm really bellied out then. That sucks. Got my Max Tracks wedged right under the car now. Cruise control. Yeah. So what if I reverse now? Go again. Now, man. Well, this is fun, isn't it? Been a while since I've been in a predicament like this. Cruise control. Do your thing. You beauty. I've got a different kind of problem now. If I keep pushing, that's going to head towards that mud guard there and probably rip it off if I keep going like that. If we're able to self-recover and go backwards, it's kind of like a half failure. And then I feel like I'm going to have to try this again. And I could be here for another hour. Commit to the cause, try and go forwards again. Yes. So good to be driving again. At the end, none of the three on their own got me out, but I believe that all three of those combined, digging, max tracks, and the crawl control, got me out. Now, do you think if I didn't have crawl control, it would have got me out? That's what I'm still wondering a little bit. Is it a bad idea to expose a flash car like the Prado to the elements? Pressing buttons, you can hear the sand crunching underneath it. It's something that's going to be hard to get past, and the bloke holding the camera right now, Chris, that's why he sold his 150 Prado to get the Troopy.
In fact, we had this conversation earlier today.
Do you know what I find interesting? You're cleaning the sand out of this car, but had it been the 70, you would have just said, oh yeah, sorry mate.
Well, yeah.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
That's the difference. It's just a luxury. That's the problem with taking them out bush, you know? That constant fear of getting it wrecked, all the...
And that's why you got rid of your 150 and went to the Troopy.
That's right. Yeah. Smashed one of the Prado mirrors and I got quoted $3,200 to replace it. On the interior was just the Prado had too much of that luxury finish on it. So a lot of hard plastics and stuff, and I was really getting scratched. It just wasn't built for what I needed it for.
And that's just the nature of four-wheel driving. You're going to get dirt and sand inside your vehicle, and you got to get over it pretty quick. Otherwise, it's going to do your head in. So is it a bad idea? I guess it depends on how you look at it. Getting side steps with this vehicle has already saved all the seals. When I was bogged and I had the max tracks in, I had one sitting under here and it was nudging at this. Also, when I was digging the car out, you can see I've hit this with the shovel many times already. And that's just what happens when you're digging. You get a bit tired and it's easy to actually hit your door in the car. It happens. You end up hitting the seal. All things have limitations. And because I've already done the rock test, I can actually predict the future, if you know what I mean. What happened? Oh, eventually, I'm gonna have to show you what happened.
Look, I'm bending the door, just getting out like this.
But for now, we're talking about sand, not rocks. That's next week. If you want to go into full drive, you got to go down here. It's sitting in 4 highs, so why aren't we in full drive? It's because we don't have a center diff lock on. So if we press the center diff lock, it's locked, which means it's now transferring 50% power and torque to the front and 50% power and torque to the rear. It's splitting at 50-50, which gives you true 4x4. Because in full-time four-wheel drive, it shouldn't be called that, but that's what people call it. That's what the manufacturers call it. It's just all-wheel drive. If you got one wheel slipping out of that whole system, it could come crashing down, figuratively speaking, and you can get bogged. Beach run, open differential, all-wheel drive. And this is not going to behave too well, I guarantee you, because it's not actually in full drive now. I can feel it struggling. It's going to struggle even more up here. Wheel slipping, shouldn't be slipping. I'm going to lock the center again. So this way, you are going to guarantee to have at least one wheel spinning on the front and one wheel spinning on the back. You can still get bogged though. Oh. So now you're in four-wheel drive. Now we'll find somewhere to turn around, keep the momentum up, because the tyre does look pretty close. Goes far, but oh, we can actually, okay. Let's leave it in 4 high. It just goes. Temperatures are getting a little bit now. 97 on the trans temp. But there's one other thing you must do. Traction control, turn that off. But just tapping the button doesn't turn it off. You actually gotta hold it down for 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to 5 seconds turns all that jargon off in the background, all those systems that are going to get you bogged, because traction control in a four-wheel drive is just a nightmare. And many people, even experienced people, just get bogged because they're unaware of that. Traction control, turn it off every single time for high range four-wheel driving. When you do go to low range, it doesn't matter because it turns it off itself. We're driving around, let's say it's really soft, use a lot of right boot just to keep moving, then we'll stop, we'll go to neutral, keep your foot on the brake, push down on this button, move it into L4, four-wheel drive low range. We're now in. It confirms it on the screen for you. You can go back to drive. You now have gears 1 through to 6 in four-wheel drive, low range. This is just sand. So all you're gonna know about here is what you need for sand. The vehicle feels really balanced when you're driving it. Down a dune, up a dune. It just feels evenly weighted. I have got a bit of cargo in the back, no more than 100 kilos. There hasn't really been a time where I've been thrown around or feel uncomfortable in this vehicle at all. Seem to absorb the bumps pretty good. The tyres are also right down, so that definitely helps. So I've got the scan gauge here. So we've been keeping an eye on it. Coolant temp has been really low, like around low 80, which is I think is unusual for a small engine like the 2.8. The trans temp has been hovering around 94 because we are giving it in low range. On the dunes, it's generally not too bad because you get frequent breaks. Vehicles that drive on the beach generally have to work a lot harder because the load is more constant, and therefore I'm expecting it to run hotter on the beach. But how much hotter? Coolant temp, the hottest that got was 84. It's probably the highest I've seen it. Since Chris was driving, the trans temp has gone up to 112. That's the highest I've seen so far.
Oh, that's an issue.
When I was driving it, the highest it got to was 97 and 112. Am I worried about that? Not really. I reckon that's probably within the normal parameters. I don't know this gearbox too well yet. Four-wheel drives, capable or not, the 250 Prado. Did I enjoy driving it? Oh, here we go. Committing along the ridge. This is going to be an angle. Oh no, that was my camera. I want to do that again. That was so fun.